Hello, beautiful people. I'm Norma Noms, and I'm back for of the Dreams, Money, Purpose podcast. Right now, I have one of my favorite people in the world. He is an entrepreneur, he's an investor, he is an incredibly talented musician, artist. It is Bimbi Philips in the
Woo, woo,
building.
woo, 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 woo.
Woo!
Thank you, thank
Zimbabweans
you,
would be
thank you
like,
for
"Alelelelelele."
thank you for having me, as always, especially in your rebirth of your podcast.
Thank you. I like that. It's the
Yeah,
rebirth. It is the rebirth
so I'm
indeed.
excited to be here.
I
Yeah.
mean, you said it's a rebirth for me, but I feel like it's also a rebirth for you in a way.
It is. Yeah, we've rebranded, spent a whole lot of time thinking about it. I wanted to be able to connect with people using my music. So now I think I feel very comfortable doing that. So yeah, excited as well.
Yeah. So just to take it back a little bit, so I've known Bimbi now for I want to say 3 years,
More,
more, four,
maybe 5.
really,
Yeah,
maybe, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, maybe
yeah.
five. And I think I've seen how you have grown, progress, but also seeing your thought process with everything you do, specifically when it comes to music. But just to clarify, you are an Afrobeat artist.
Yes. Yeah.
But I've
Yeah.
seen the way that you are so intentional about your music and the messaging that you put across to your people. So tell me a little bit about what's that process been like in the last couple of years and the transition you've gone through with your music.
Yeah. So I think at some point, probably like 5 years ago, I would say I what motivates me with music is the creative part of it. I
Yeah.
really enjoy the just thinking about how to make people have value for whatever we give and just exceeding the expectation. But I think 5 years ago, I just felt like even though the shows were nice, I wasn't satisfied or I wasn't fulfilled. I think that's the right word. I felt like people were grooving to the music, especially when I'm on stage, because it's just nice.
It's just a vibe.
It's just a vibe.
I think, and with a lot of Afrobeats, it's
Yeah,
just a vibe.
yeah,
Sometimes you're not even listening to what's being said.
yeah,
I'm just here to
yeah,
shake body.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I can feel it on stage, and I didn't really like that. I envied those artists that, they don't have to be political or things like that, or they don't have to have like a movement that would change the landscape of what's happening. But I just envy people, artists that their voice to a specific set of people, right?
Yeah.
That you're either speaking out for them or you are. I just envy that. So I think when coronavirus happened and then shut down our tour, I thought that would be a fantastic time to revisit that thought process, and I took advantage of it. Obviously, coronavirus wasn't an easy time because it impacted us financially in terms of the
Yeah, for
tours
sure.
and all that. But I took advantage of that time to like, okay, now we're not touring. Let's take a step back and let me just revisit the what I think I stand for. And yeah, that's what led to what we're doing now, and as you know, what I sing about is men being responsible for their women,
And we love it. We
and
love it.
it's something that I've always been passionate about,
Yeah.
always. So I think I was in the studio, and it's something I kept, telling my manager then, and he was like, "You talk about this topic all the time. Why not sing about it?"
You
Right?
talk about women, talk about relationships,
Yeah,
talking about
it's majorly when we're trying to argue as guys, basically. So I'm always on the position of, how can you, as a guy, interesting conversation as well. You have
yeah.
where we're saying, define what unconditional love is. And I'm like,
Tell me about these conversations that men are having, because I feel like the conversations about love and relationships
yeah,
that men are having and the conversations that women are having separately, it feels as if there's probably a disconnect. There may be some similarities, but there's
yeah,
also some disconnect. So when
yeah.
you're defending women, what are you saying?
So I feel like, so first of all, conversations, when guys are having conversations like this, well, most of the conversation I have is always from a very laid back, funny point of view, but it's actually
Yeah.
serious as well, right? Like, I'll give you an example. So this one in particular where one of the guys were like, oh, he doesn't believe in unconditional love. And I'm like, what do you mean? And everyone is laughing, right? But I'm like, his point of view is he thinks the only person he can give an unconditional love to are his kids. And I'm like, but what about your woman? And it was like, no, he doesn't believe he exists. I said, okay, let's, and this is where I usually passionately come in. I was like, let's take a step back. So first of all, I know that they're not married, right? But she has 3 kids for him. They live together. She cooks for him. She does it. What else is unconditional love? Like
Yeah.
that alone is unconditional.
Like you have a woman that's
Like
doing everything for
she's
you.
doing a whole lot. What else would she do to make you feel like it's now unconditional? You know, it wasn't as serious as this as we're
Yeah, of
talking, but it
course,
was.
yeah.
But I tried to put the point across, and then they come back, and until guys would always agree at some point to say, okay, we think, so that's how the conversations
Yeah,
happen, flow. Sometimes it's never as serious as this. It's usually fun. But I think I'm passionate about the fact that nobody actually. It's rare to see men speak for women
Absolutely.
to other guys
Do you
when
know
it comes to
what?
this
I
topic.
think it's men don't listen to women, men listen to other men.
Yeah, true.
And in my opinion, it takes other men speaking up for women for certain things to change. And not to make it super deep, but if we use an example, when it comes to racism or ending racism, it takes white people speaking up
Yeah.
for the minority or for the
Yeah.
oppressed for
Yeah.
change to be had.
Yeah, yeah.
Similar thing with women or the women's movement or
Yeah.
feminism, quote unquote. It takes other men speaking up and defending women.
Yeah.
That's when other men are like, oh, okay, maybe he's got a point. But us women, we can shout and cry till kingdom come. No one will hear us. But at the moment another man that they respect
Yeah.
speaks and says the exact same thing that a woman said, suddenly they heard it. But all along, the woman has been saying the same thing.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's in general, even when it comes to racism, or it takes another woman to tell another woman about probably how a man feels for her to get it as well sometimes, right? So it's basically, the concept is it's easier to take information from somebody who isn't within your, because
So someone who you relate to, someone who
that you
looks
can
like
relate to,
you,
that looks like you,
someone who has the same
yeah.
experiences
Yeah,
as you, for you
yeah.
to absolutely
And
absorb.
and information
absorb
is
it.
about the opposite, so it's easier to get that information than
Yeah.
if it's coming from the opposite person, then it feels like there are lots of barriers as well.
Let's get into it. I feel like men are wanting women to lower their standards a lot. And part of that is because potentially on a deeper level is that society has changed. The way women are has changed. What we do and what we're capable of, what we're accomplishing
Yeah.
has leveled up so much that men are also being expected to level up. But they're not willing to level up in the same way that women have. So, and I'll just use this as an example. So, for instance, women are now, okay, she's the boss babe, she's contributing to the household, but she's still mom and still expected to be an incredible wife.
Yeah.
Men, on the other hand, for a very long time, their focus has been, I'm going to be the financial provider. However, now we're requiring and expecting you to also level up in the same way that we have.
Yeah.
So now, as a wife or as a woman, I'm expecting you that you're going to be an amazing, devoted father, but also you're going to be a loving, devoted husband. And suddenly men are losing their mind because it's like, whoa, this is too much. This is too much. And it's like, well, if we've had to level up, you two have to level up. And it's creating this tension. I feel like that's what's creating the tension between men and women, of we're expecting you to come up higher in the same way that we've had to come up higher, but you're not willing to meet us where we are.
So I would say partially right, partially.
Okay.
So the last statement completely right. The first statement where you said men are expecting women to lower their standard. By the way, I'm not a relationship expert. By the way. So
You don't have to be.
Let's start with that. This is my opinion. If you
Yeah.
don't, please and follow my opinion at your risk. But
Follow my opinion at your risk. If you die, you die. That's your own wala.
But I would say where you said that men are expecting women to lower their standard.
Yes. Okay,
I would say that's partially right.
So you are an investor, you're an entrepreneur. Quickly, how long have you been an entrepreneur in this business game?
So it actually started with music.
Okay, and then you ventured into business.
So it actually started like music business, to be honest. Yeah, so basically I'm one of those that was never handed an opportunity. I always create my opportunities, right? So when I started taking music really seriously, it was like a joke, to be honest. Right? Back in school, everyone kind of forms their own clique, and the other clique, they had a great business guy there, right, with the artist, and the guy would put on the show for them. On our clique, we didn't have any business, no business person, so we would kind of want to go into their show. Obviously, they're not going to let us to. So we're like, you know what? Why can't we put ours together, right? So I met one of a close friend. They started like a business group called Oxin Entertainment. So his name is Shay. Went to Shay and like, okay, you know what? Let's come join our clique, and that's how it started really. And it's out of competition. How do we make sure their show is 500 capacity? How do we make sure ours is 1,500? Their show is they are using the basic lights. How do we make sure we use spotlights and stuff to attract people? How do we get more talent? And that's how I got into it. So, and I really, really did enjoy it, right? And I think it gave me control over my creative process as an artist, right? So I didn't have to be influenced by just anyone. It gave me more control, and I really did enjoy it. And I think 15 years ago, I decided that, okay, you know what? We've basically learned everything on the job. I'm sure there's somewhere formal that we can learn it. And that's how I came to the UK. I actually came to study that in Essex Business School.
Oh, wow.
So, but the course was called Creative Industry Management. But then found out that managing music businesses was just like 30% of the creative industry. Most of it was IT, which is about 60%. And that's how I got into IT consulting and started.
What has some things that you've learned along your journey that, looking back years down the line, that you're like, oh, I wish someone would have told me this, it would have changed the game for me as a businessman?
I wish someone would have. I wish I had a mentor, right?
Yes.
Because I was gonna say I wish somebody would have told me to get a mentor, but no one around me then were knowledgeable anyway. They would have been the mentor. But I remember when, even before, and this is so strange, before I got to uni, or maybe when I just got into uni, one of my eldest cousins in the whole family tree of fathers, brothers, cousin, he was the one that was the guy.
The
guy
one that made it.
Yeah, he was
the one
working
with the big bands.
Yeah, he was working in a telecoms company then or something. So he was like, he's the one that all the parents would like be like that guy, you know. And I remember walking to him it was a Sunday after church, and I was like, I want to, you're like, oh, you're like, well, what do you want to do with your life? You're becoming younger, you're no longer a teenager and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I think I want to do music. And I said, I want to do business consulting as well. And he looked at me, I was like, what do you know about business consulting? Do you think everyone like that just does business consulting? Go and, go to school and become a banker or, do. And I would never forget that.
Wow.
And that was the guy that we're looking up to. And in my mind, I was like, what's a load
It's like, that's your role model.
Yeah, like what kind of I don't want to use the swear word in this
No,
on this. I was
yeah,
like,
yeah, I get you.
what an idiot!
Because
Like
that's the one
that
that's
was
supposed to be
I
encouraging you
never.
and telling you, giving you advice. But
I think that was the last time I spoke to him, and I just never rated the guy anymore.
wow, yeah, it's like the way that you saw him
Yeah.
almost changed after that day. But I
Yeah.
think what you're speaking about in terms of role models is
Yeah.
something I can truly relate to.
Yeah.
Because looking back now, I'm like, even just looking at my 21-year-old self, I'm like, I wish you'd had someone to not even lead you in the way or tell you
Just
what to
guide
do,
you,
but
know?
just give you that guidance, whether it's business wise, career wise, and just a mentor. And I think something that I've been witnessing in our community is that there is a lack of mentorship.
So this is where we can get very controversial when it comes to politics. I think personally, I think that is the biggest blow dealt on us from slavery and the whole slave trade.
Because everyone's trying to make it by themselves.
Yeah,
it's
just
like there's no
pitching us against each other in order to conquer them, and just redesigning our thought process on competition versus collaboration. You know, it's like everyone wants to outdo somebody else because
everyone wants to be the CEO.
Yeah.
No one wants to be the assistant.
Like the mindset of collaboration we're way behind.
Absolutely.
Way behind.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's so inbuilt that it's so difficult to unravel.
And I think, well, speaking for myself, when I was looking around, I couldn't see anyone truly who was doing what I was doing, but also maybe partly my fault. I didn't know where to look.
Yeah.
And also, it's also that mentality of, I don't want to be rejected. If I do seek help. And also, sometimes people are not willing to help you, you know?
Yeah, especially, like you said, you don't know where to look. So if you look at the wrong places,
you're done for, because now I think it's even worse, because when you were supposed to be going to the left, you're now going to the right because the individual has misdirected you and misguided you. But I think another thing is, not to make it super deep, but when it comes to lack of male figures in our households that are taking responsibility for the generation to come. And it doesn't mean necessarily like father to son or father to daughter, but it could be father to nephew and niece, or the role models essentially within our communities that are doing great, taking responsibility to pass on the information, their resources, their connections, their finances to the next generation, to say, this is all I have, take it and run with it. Because white people are great when it comes to nepotism. When it comes to black people, hi.
And I think that's what you've just said there is the foundation of the entire Godfather brand, right? So, and that's the brand I try to build with the music, that it's not just, yes, let's leave the funny part of for women, men should place their women on salary and all that, but the serious part is men taking that position of a godfather, meaning that they are responsible for the people around them, the women around them, right? They're responsible for other men as well in terms of passing on the baton. And, it's like somebody asked me 2 days ago why. So we were into the funny conversation, and I said that I prefer teaching people how to fish than give fish.
Of course, yes.
I don't know. It's just because I feel like when I give you a handout, it's a terrible thing, right? Because I've not helped you in any way. Yeah. In fact, I've worked against helping you. You would always be in that position of needing me.
Yes.
I hate that position, right? Personally. But if I help you, I've not just helped you, I've helped maybe 5 people around you that depend on you. I've also helped a future generation of you also passing on the baton as well.
Yes,
so
of course.
Imagine if every man was like that for all their circle. That's what I call a godfather, whether you are 20 or you are 40 or 60.
I think we would be in a completely different era and a time. I think even as a diaspora, 1 and 2 as Africans in Africa. And something that you've just said reminded me. I don't know if you saw Elsa Majimbo went viral for saying that she doesn't want to be part of the generation who are in the diaspora sending money back home to family members, and she went on to explain her reasons.
Oh, yes.
And back to your point of teaching people to fish,
Yeah.
I think that's also something that we're not doing. Again, like you said, teaching others how to fish, or even if you don't know how to do the specific thing. So for instance, if someone was in IT or they're in the fashion industry and you have no idea about the fashion industry, but you have enough knowledge and enough connections to say, I'm not in that industry, however, I know 2 people that are, so go and speak to them. And then after you speak to them, okay, give me a business plan. I'm willing to invest maybe 10% in your business, and then we can see how it goes. You know, and I think that's what's missing. And it's like everyone is withholding from each other, and just whether keeping it with their own families, or I don't know what's happening, but it's almost as if this knowledge bank is leaving with the generation as they go, as they pass on, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think maybe most people don't know how to as well. So most people don't know how to network. Most people don't know how to, because you can't give what you don't have as well. But what I say is, anyone in any position to help people, start from there.
Okay.
You know, yeah.
So when it comes to you also invest in business. So let's talk about that and how you got started in investing in other people's businesses.
So, well, I have so I started as I would say a JJC investor, where
what does that mean?
Somebody would just say, "Oh, I have an idea. Let's go for it. Oh, okay, let me try it," and then just and then they'll chop your money and run away, and stuff like that. So that's how I kind of started, right? Just to diversify, right? I personally gave myself a very tight timeline. So the timeline was like, from this age, from 20 to 25, I need to make all the mistakes I can when it comes to business. But from 25 to 30, I need to have looked at all the mistakes I've made and choose one, and just, like Nigerians would say, die there.
Yeah.
Right.
Just run with it.
Just there, whether I lose or not, that's it. Right?
So you invest all your time and energy into one specific business or space
area. Yeah.
Okay.
So I spend between 20 and 25 just lots of things. So that's where I did a whole lot of investment in different, and I was happy to lose money. I wasn't, because I was learning.
Yeah. So you were investing in small businesses, medium businesses, large businesses.
Yeah, small businesses.
Yeah.
Right. Very, very small. Right. Now I've specialized, and I'll get to that, but very, very small. I was using it to learn. I was using it to build network. One big thing about business is your network, right? Trust is like 50% of business being done, and it's hard to build trust, right? So I was doing all that. So from 25 onward, I chose certain areas. So music is still a big part of what I do. I still love it, and I still love the music business part. So that's one. Then the second was I got into creating a travel fintech startup. So that opened me up to the travel space. So the travel space, hospitality space is one area I've picked as well. So I think those are my 2 major areas. Now, I would only dabble to anything else if someone give me a referral.
Okay.
But now when it comes to size of businesses, it's usually between 1 to 10 million in revenue that I deal with.
In terms of they have to be producing 1 to 10 million
in revenue
yearly
for me to get involved. If it's lesser than 1 million, it's too small, and anything more than 10, probably the PE market. Yeah.
Right.
I know I'm being very.
Okay, so for me, I love money, as we all do, but it has to make sense. Yeah. So when it comes to, let's say someone comes to you and says, Bimbi, I have a very small, tiny pot of money. How do I begin in investing in other businesses? And how lucrative is it when it comes to the numbers? What am I looking at? What's my potential?
So I would say, first of all, you need to define what type of investor you are. Right. Okay. So there are different types. There's the family and friends angel investor.
Yes.
Meaning that no matter how small, you can put it in there and into the business and invest. Then there's another category of, so the category I fall into business acquisitions, from the range I told you about. And then there's the bigger ones like private equity and family offices. So I would say, especially our community, probably most people fall under the angel investment. But what I usually tell everyone, whatever you want to do, whether you're an investor or founder or whatever, the first investment you need to make is educating yourself. Education is a big part. In fact, I would recommend that you probably invest at least half of what you're planning on investing on educating yourself. That's half of the battle won.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people doing lots of interesting things out there. I've forgotten this gentleman's name. I think he runs like an angel investment school and for people in our community.
Okay.
I've forgotten his name. But I would say educate yourself. If I just
Yeah.
go on YouTube, I have only ChatGPT.
Or Google, yeah.
You know, I
They
have
are like,
£200, I have £500, £1,000. I want to invest. What should I do? You know, and just start getting a lot of information and educating yourself on how to invest and what to look out for, what type of revenue, what type of margin, what type of, you know, profit,
Yeah.
EBITDA, all that. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about numbers. I know people don't like to talk about money, but again, this is the Dreams of Money podcast after all, so we have to talk about money.
Yeah.
So can I safely assume that you have crossed over the six-figure threshold with your investment, with returns and revenues?
When people normally say 6-7 figures, it's like, how do you count? Do you count the zeros without the first number? Or do
Okay,
you
let's
count
say
everything?
over 100,000.
So we've crossed that since, like, I would say, so when I started business consulting, I think I wasn't really passionate about it, to be honest, because if you remember, I went to study the business side for music, and I just became good at it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw the monetary value, that's what got me stuck in it. And at that time, I think from the first contract, we already crossed it.
Amazing. I
Yeah.
love that. But then how long did that take for you to cross over the six-figure
So
income just from your first contract?
So I'm always careful with this, right? Because you know, when I say in my mind, it probably took me 6 months. In my mind, the reason why I'm saying my mind is because when I started counting 6 months, I'd already put in a whole lot of work.
Of course.
So
yes.
if I count when I thought about it and
Began.
began, that's like 2 years or thereabouts. So things like this is always a journey, right? So, and I think I classify myself as a very hard worker, right? So something might take me 6 months, but might take somebody else a longer time. Depends on the amount of work you're going to put in it. Hence why sometimes I'm a bit careful with this answer, because if I say,
Yeah.
you know, there are people that would come and say I should mentor them, and they're like, oh, I would like to achieve this in 6 months' time or XYZ, and I say, what about 1 month? And I try to kind of change their mindset to say it's still the same if you spend 1 hour a day over a period of time, and you spend 4 hours a day, you've just reduced the time. But it
Yeah.
has to be 4 productive hours.
Absolutely.
Right. So, yeah. So I don't know how to, I think it would be unfair for me to just, in my mind, it's 6 months, but it's not 6 months.
But 6 months
spent
means, yeah,
6
probably
months.
3 years or
I
all your
spent-
years of
yeah,
education, of
yeah.
failing, of trial and error.
Plus, yeah, like I came from the business side in music as well. That actually helped too. It helped with my creative thinking as well. And yeah, it took, I joined lots of networking groups, you know,
Okay.
I learned a lot, right? Back in the days, Google wasn't that popular, so books, a whole lot of books.
Yeah.
Right.
It's reading a lot, researching.
I read a lot, yeah.
So something that I have just recently realized about myself is that I'm not great at failing. I hate failing. I'm sure like everyone else, but what I've been learning is you have to be good at failing. And
Yeah.
what when I say that, I mean you have to realize, okay, failures are inevitable. Like it's just something you can't avoid, number one. Number two, when you do fail, what's your attitude going forward? And I think for me, something I was realizing was I was getting into a habit of, if something is not working out quickly enough, I'm backing out of it, or I'm not willing to invest further time, which is not very smart. So for you, what's your journey been like? Because I can imagine you've spoken about you've lost thousands and thousands that you've invested, you've failed at some things, but how do you get back up?
So I have a different attitude to failing. I see it as learning, right? So it's part of a journey for me, right? In fact, what people classify as failing, I don't see it as failing, right? I think the only time I would see myself have failed is when probably I don't know, I'm dead or something. Because anytime I try something and it doesn't work, which I think people classify as failing, my mind is always, why didn't it work and what do I have to do next? So it's kind of always like lessons learned rather than, oh, we failed.
Yeah.
Because failing is like, if for instance that didn't work properly and I say, I'm no longer doing it, then technically I failed because it didn't work out and I stopped.
And just stopped.
But if I carried on, and there's always a retrospective all the time to say they're always retrospective to things that actually works well as well. You have to say, why did it work well? How can we double on that? How can we increase on that? Same thing as, why did it fail? How can we ensure that it doesn't happen again?
Yeah.
So that's the way I take it. But if I look at basically my life in the last 10 years, then I failed a lot from that generation and definition, because a whole lot keeps happening even till now.
Right.
And then it's always like I wake up every day. And that's what I do every day. When I wake up, before I stand up, I think of, what did I do yesterday that didn't work well? And what do I have to do today to make sure that that corrects it? And then I take my phone and just message myself on what I have to do today. And I just do that every single morning.
Oh, okay. So like a daily to-do list based on what happened the day before,
based on what happened
and
yesterday.
what didn't work the day before.
Yeah, and
I like that.
Because that's the only way to keep me sane. Because if I don't do that, I become restless. I feel like there's a chance that I'm going to repeat the same thing I did yesterday that didn't work.
Yeah.
Right, so
So I was saying that because I feel like we are, of course, a generation now where we are witnessing fast success.
Yeah.
We're witnessing people go viral and make it overnight. So overnight sensations, overnight success. Just in the space of like a month, you go from no one to someone. But that's not everyone's experience. So with other people, especially this younger generation, with other people who are chasing that and wanting for that to happen for them, and it doesn't happen, and then suddenly it's like, but it's not happening for me, so maybe I should just give up, or maybe I should just try something else. What's your advice?
So I have a different opinion to that statement. I don't think there's anything called an overnight success. Right? I think if you actually speak to these guys that have really gone viral and are still viral, so we're not saying one hit viral, that they just do something funny, they go viral, you never hear back from them. But the guys that have consistently stayed viral, if you speak to them and find out the amount of work they put in, you would know that that thing isn't easy at all.
Yeah.
Right? It's so what I would say is the advice like you talked about, when anyone sees people like that, try to find out the amount of work they put behind it. Right? Even when I went into IT business part of it, and there are lots of people that said the same thing. Oh, all these guys are just making a lot of money. IT is the new, it's that's where the money is now. Just go into it and then you just make a lot of money.
Make money, yeah.
I'm like, okay, don't worry. You just come and see and put the amount of work first. And see the amount of work first. So what I would say is, any as a young person, if you're not sure what to do yet, and you see something going on really, really well, just take that step and find out the amount of work that needs to be put behind it, so that you can prepare yourself for that, put in the same amount of work. And
Yeah. Speaking of, just back to the conversation we were having about failure, I mean, we're in a cost of living, so we have to be careful about how we're spending our money, where we're investing our money, and all of that good stuff. But for you, when it comes to investing, at what point do you know this project or this business or this situation that I'm putting my money into is no longer worth investing into, because I'm losing not only hundreds, but losing maybe thousands of pounds, 10,000s of pounds.
Yeah.
In some cases, some people are investing, 6 figures, 7 figures. How do you know when enough is enough in terms of investing and when to pull it back?
So years ago, I was in that position. I'm hardly in that position anymore because I kind of changed the script. So rather than going into something and then you are firefighting to know when to pull out, I decided to educate myself on the right thing to go into. Right. So, for instance,
the right sectors,
the right
kind of
sector.
businesses
So, yes,
that are fireproof.
Correct. Well, not fireproof. So, for instance, the right sector. So, I would actively go and buy any business in the travel and hospitality industry, because I know that sector. So even if another sector is more, you think it's more on paper is great, I wouldn't, because that's not where my knowledge is, right? If when people bring deals to me in other sectors, I would first go look for somebody else to partner with to go into that sector. If I can't find somebody to partner with, I don't even bother, right? Because I've learned from lessons that there are lots of things within that sector that you should know about, and even if the numbers are good, it can still ruin the business because you have no idea.
Yeah. So you have to be very well educated on that sector, on that industry.
So that's what I do first. Then secondly, any business below 1 million, for me, there's no just point. Now, I've looked at businesses below that.
So why is there no point for you investing in the businesses that are less than 1 million?
Because then it's just in a very kind way to say it, it's usually a lifestyle one-man business.
Okay. So right. You feel like the revenue is not, for you, the revenue wouldn't be worth the effort or the input.
Because I don't want to buy a job. I want to invest, right? Okay. So meaning that there needs to be enough money in there to pay the people that would actually run it, and pay good people to run it. Because if there's not enough money in there, then I'll be forced to go into it to run it, right? And that's not my key strength. Right. So, or even if you're doing at least 1 million yearly, you should have at least 150,000 in EBITDA, which is like your operating profit, right? Because then you have enough to pay for the people that are going to run it as well.
Okay.
So those are kind of the checklists I put, so that I don't get to the business, and then there are exceptions, by the way, but the exceptions have to be closely monitored, like very, very closely monitored. Yeah.
Have you gone through any, I guess, maybe failures or losses in investment when it comes to the finances that you invested that, that broke your heart a little bit, that had you clutching your pearls like, how will I get out of this situation? I've invested so much money and my money is tanking in this business.
So there's one, this happened very, very earlier on. I think I was maybe like 23 or thereabout. And at that time, I didn't even know, I was just doing it. I didn't know anything about this, any structured way. And I would never forget about this, because the idea was really great. At that time, I don't think at that time there was Spotify or the streaming platforms. And if there was, maybe it wasn't that big. In Nigeria, then there's still a whole lot of distribution happening physically. And this guy approached me and pitched this fantastic idea of creating a very strong distribution network. And it was
just music distribution network.
And it was just a fantastically great idea. And I've known him. I know of him, so it's not like it's somebody that someone referred him as well. I know of him. And it was just fun, and I was so excited. I was like, "Yes,
this is
going to be,
our unicorn business that's going to take us global."
And I did put a whole lot of money in it.
When you say a whole lot of money, how much?
A whole lot. Count the figures in like a
Six
whole
figures.
a whole lot. I did put a whole lot in it. I was so passionate about it. But like I said, then I didn't really know how to do it professionally, right? So I wasn't looking at the numbers. I wasn't looking at anything else. I was just looking at just the
The
idea.
idea.
I'm in music as well, so I understand how big it can be and so on. And then I convinced another friend as well to join in. And I think the first 6 months it was great reporting and like, oh, you know what, we're doing great and so on. And then we just never heard anything again. That's a fact. That's a strange thing. I know where he is. He hasn't. He still posts on LinkedIn. It still comes to my, like, I still see his feed on my LinkedIn even till today. So it's not like he's hiding.
You need to pull up on him. Like, where's my money?
It's like we tried and tried and tried.
Did
and
you ever
tried.
pull up to his house?
Well, not to his house, but we tried everything, right?
Like you contacted him?
Yeah. First of all, it was just one story to another, and it was just a terrible time. Like it was a whole year of just ruining, and because I put in so much as well.
Mm-hmm.
But even though at that period, I'd said that that's a period where I'm gonna try a lot.
Yeah.
So it was a big lesson for me that okay, there's more to look at a business than great idea.
Of course.
It's no longer I have a great idea. And yeah, but that it's still paying. I think because I still see his LinkedIn feeds.
That's what hurts, right? It's like, bro, you're still living your best life on my money.
Well, I don't know if he's living his best life because I've seen his progress. I don't think he's an entrepreneur anymore.
Wow. Okay,
yeah,
so he's
but
just
he's going through the professional route. But you know, one thing again that I told myself within that 5 years is it's an opportunity for me not just to learn but also to build a good network.
Yes.
So when I lose money to certain people, it's still fine. It's just somebody to cross off my list to never work with again.
Yeah.
And the people I work with now, people that I've worked with for a long time because of this reason. So even I think sometime last month, somebody called me up and like in our music space and mentioned somebody else and like, oh, that he's about working with that person. And I was like, well, I don't know if the guy has changed, but I'll tell you that 6 years ago, this is what he did and I can never work with him. Even if he has gone to repent and come back, that's the way I am. Once I've tested you once and you failed it, that's it. Even if you have given your life to Christ and you're a changed man, I'm just never, it's done. It's like it's done.
People said the Lord forgives, but I do not forget.
No, yeah, I don't.
No, do you know what? I feel like in the last years I've had to take a few L's. I've definitely, lost a bit of money here and there, but in terms of money that was owed to me, because I've had to learn, okay, not everybody is a man of their word.
Yeah.
Not all opportunities are great opportunities. Yeah. And you sometimes you do have to ask around about what people are like when it comes to business, because they could be great friends and they're a good vibe to be around, to even work with. They could be great, but now when it comes to the money, the numbers, suddenly people are silent. Suddenly suddenly oh, my cat and the dog died, and then the cat ate the dog, and this story where just
in
fact,
put
me my money.
Yeah,
bring
in
me
fact,
my money.
Let me just spill one tea now.
Please.
So I've had and I know I've had a reputation, right? So I'm not oblivious to it. I've had a reputation, especially in the Afrobeat world, both in the UK and in Nigeria, for some people that have worked with me, and they've had the impression of, no, it's Bimbi, don't worry. Just tell him you can do this, you eat his money.
Wow.
I know that that's the case. Like, I'm not oblivious. I turn a blind eye to it.
So is it like people feel like they can just come to you for opportunities knowing that you will pay because you're loyal to that?
And I will do it. But let me just tell you the secret. The reason why I do it is to test relationship.
Yeah, for sure.
To me, that is, I don't know if it's our community thing, but that's the quickest way for me to test a relationship in the Afrobeats music game. And
do you know what? You're so right, because like I said, I've had to learn myself that people will not always be honest, especially when it comes to business. And sometimes you will take the L. However, it just means that as you operate through business, just be smart about it. One, two, reputation is everything. Like, are you someone that's going to deliver what you said you're going to deliver? Are you someone that's going to keep to your word and do what you said you were going to do to the level that you promised that you're going to do it? But also on the other side, are you going to pay the people that you've asked for their services and their goods?
And reputation is, like, right now, reputation is half of the job done. Reputation is very hard to build. It's very, people don't understand how
and also
difficult.
Easy to taint as well,
It's
because
very easy to take away.
You know how you've just said, like, there's some people that you never work with. For me, there's certain, whether it's, I'm not going to say certain job roles, they're just certain individuals that I know for a fact I would never refer your services, I would never refer your goods because of how you've treated me or how you've treated somebody else that I know, or because I've heard you're very difficult when it comes to time to pay individuals for the services that they gave you. Because when you were busy commanding, I need X, Y, and Z by this estate, I need it within the next 24 hours, and people were being quick on their feet to provide the services for you, or to go above and beyond to support your projects and do, you know, just to support you. Now suddenly when it's time to also support the people that are supporting you, you're nowhere to be seen. It's like, and I think, okay, we see you.
So
we see you.
For my instance, I think one of my greatest strengths that I think people see a lot is I can easily put a team together easily. But that only came from reputation. Like, there's no way, if you have
just
not
having those
treated
relationships
somebody,
that you can pull together.
if you treated somebody in a certain way years ago, you just don't know. Like, you have to be, it's like, even when I'm buying businesses, for every seller, even if they are asking for something unreasonable, at the back of my mind, it's my job to make sure they're happy at the end of the deal.
Right. Yes.
It just makes things it just makes life easier.
Do you know what?
Right?
It's sorry to interrupt you. It's just, as you're speaking, that saying that says people don't remember what you did; they remember how you made them feel. I think that's it. It's someone may not remember exactly what you did and how you connected them, or maybe, you know, how much you invested, but it's the fact that Bimbi was so, yes, he was generous, but he was kind, but he was willing to help, but he was willing to lend an ear, but he was so supportive, even in the difficult moments. You know, he gave me advice and he pointed me in the right direction. Like, people remember those things.
But I think people should just do it because we're just humans, right? It doesn't cost you anything to be nice.
It doesn't. So, but, you know, in this dog eat dog world,
probably, I think the people that would probably do that are people that are, to be very careful here, but I want to use the word hungry, but I don't think
desperate.
When you are not desperate, let's use desperate. When you are not desperate and you know you can feed yourself, right? And you love what you do, there's no reason to hurt anyone.
Or shortchange other people for your own gain.
In fact, if everyone, it's like, I tell people this all the time. If I have all the money in the world and my close friends don't, can I go and book my private jet myself and enjoy it myself? My private jet is not fun without friends. Do you understand? So
absolutely. If like, you want to have those people that you came up with to enjoy it with you.
If I'm closing a deal and we can't all go to smoke shisha and enjoy, like, you know, I like shisha, but we can't all go at the end of the deal and have a glass of wine and smoke shisha and then what's the point? So I just, did it alone, and just, you can't enjoy life by yourself. So making everyone just happy at the end of every deal is what I try to.
No, I love that. I love that. Let's switch gears a little bit. With all that you've learned and all the different seasons, that I feel like life is in seasons, in cycles. What is life teaching you in this season?
Life has been teaching me that it's a journey, not a destination. Yeah, and I know I've heard quite a lot of people say it, but when you leave it and you know it's a journey, you know.
The journey is long.
The journey is long. So just enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Like, enjoy it. If it's like work hard, enjoy it harder.
Oh.
Right? Don't say, like, even the I was speaking to a friend and he reminded me, I go a lot on group trips. Probably maybe that's why I'm interested in travel, but he did say that the group trips we used to go 10 years ago, we didn't used to spend 10% of what we're spending now. But it looks like we had more fun then,
Yeah.
right? And
Before you would be
yeah,
sharing a
before,
room.
yeah, like now we want to go on group trips. Everyone is always thinking which villa first. There was
Yeah.
a time that you never thought about villa.
Now people are flying
You know,
business class, first class.
in fact, then how we used to travel then, funny enough, is, and I think that's how I had a lot of friends.
Yeah.
So we only travel to places that we have friends or an acquaintance. So meaning that as a guy, I met you today. Hey, where are you? You live here? Oh, cool, cool. Let's exchange numbers. And maybe a year's time, I know that. Oh, I know somebody that lives.
That lives in
Then
America,
I call you and like,
Miami.
guess
Let me
what?
go to.
We are coming. Are you going to host us? So we'll just travel to their place. They host us. They feed us. Our accommodation. The only
Yeah.
thing we need to think about is how we get there and how we're getting back. But there was that code that you'd also do the same. So
Yes.
when anybody from anywhere in the world is coming to where you are, it's, oh, speak to Bimbi. Because yes, they hosted Bimbi in this place and that place, and so it's now Bimbi's turn. So you have to accommodate people, right?
Yeah.
So that was the easiest way we traveled then. So we didn't think of food, we just thought of getting there and getting back. And there are so many routes you can get there in the most affordable
In the
way
most, yeah.
as possible.
Even
And
if you have to take 10 buses to get to your location.
and it's usually fun. It's always fun. So
Yeah.
it's like, imagine then saying, okay, we're not going to travel. We're just going to hustle, and just so that when we get to a time in life, we can now do all what everyone is seeing on Instagram.
We can now enjoy the fruits of our labor at 50,
It's like
60
you've
years
just
old.
wasted years on things that you'd have even enjoyed more than how you enjoy it now. So
That's
right now,
true.
you know, when people just say, oh, should we go to this place? Yes, I'm down. I don't even think
Should
about
we?
it twice.
Yes. Before they even finish what they're asking you, your shoes are already
Sometimes
on.
they just
Where
even
should I meet you?
They just even add my name. We know Bimbi is coming anyway. Just add him.
To the group chat.
Oh, Bimbi, are you available? So it's basically availability now,
Yeah.
not are you coming?
I love
Because
that.
life
Live your
is
best
life is and I love traveling anyway. But yeah, just enjoy the journey. You never know when the journey would end. It might end today. Who knows?
Wow, that's
But
deep. Bro.
just enjoy it every single day. Enjoy it like it's your last, without being reckless.
Of
Right,
course,
yeah.
of course. Enjoy without being reckless. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that more. But you know me, I feel like somehow as I've gotten older, I've gotten a bit more strict. Any nonsense thing, I don't want to do it. Like, I think people know me now. No, but do you want to? No. Do you want to come to the? No. No. Also, who's going to be there? Is my second question.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to be there? Okay, yeah, then I'll think about it.
No,
But no, I
you
think,
need to-
again, sometimes when life deals you certain cards, you shift focus. So it's not necessarily that I'm not enjoying things, it's more so focusing on the things that matter to me the most.
yeah, you can still enjoy
know.
while focusing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And actually, do you know what it is? I think it's more so the things that I enjoyed in my previous season of life are no longer enjoyable to me.
Yeah, things
You
things
know.
change, right?
Yeah.
Even schedules change.
The enjoyment is different now.
Yeah, it's different. Like for
Yeah.
So it's like just enjoy the journey.
Enjoy
really.
the journey for sure, and enjoy your people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trying to do that more. What kind of legacy do you want to leave
Hmm.
behind?
Oh, wow. I don't think anyone has asked me that question before. So I saw the legacy my dad left, and I liked it. So probably something close to that. And so I know he's always been someone that took care of lots of people, mostly women, to be honest. And I think in his burial, 95% of the people there were women. And it just dawned on me. I just looked around and just like women everywhere. Both the ones that he helped sent them to school, both the ones that don't have fathers, and he became the father figure, walked down the aisle with them and all that. And I think it was just nice, right? It just felt like he left a huge impact.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of something I think I would like to do. I think that was the first time I felt like that. And probably that's the kind of legacy I would like to leave behind as well.
I love that. Yeah, I think it was a physical representation of the impacts that it had on people's lives, and you could just physically see it. That's so beautiful.
See it, emotional as well, right? Yeah, it was very strange actually. It was very strange. So it was like, it felt like, oh, now that it's gone, who's going to replace it? So, and it felt like everyone looked at me and like, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, now you're stepping into these shoes.
Yeah, like you don't, and it was a bit scary. Plus the fact that I am very identical to him as well. We look exactly the same. So it just feels like everyone just turns to
you.
But that can be very scary because my dad carried a lot of loads.
Yeah.
So carrying that as well, you have to be prepared, right? You can't.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think there's grace given. Like when God calls you to do certain things, like there's grace given for you to be able to handle that.
Yeah, and I think it's something that I picked up organically, right? Even while he was alive, I think he naturally passed that, right? Even from my siblings, just taking on this responsibility, not because I wanted to be the big brother. It's just because I just thought that's the right thing to do. It just made me happy as well.
Yeah.
Right? Just stepping into that role and, I don't know. It's just, I think it's natural. That's maybe grace is the right word. But yeah, I think that's a kind of legacy. I heard about, is it Mane, the football player, that he doesn't buy fancy things and he sends all the revenue he gets, or most of it, to his village of about 2,000 people, and he's building the village and things like that.
That's beautiful.
That's
so
the
dope.
legacy as well, right? So
do you know what? Now that you say that, it's funny because I was on Instagram earlier today and scrolling as you do, and I came across a page of this woman who runs a charity and I'm so sorry, I don't know which country it is in Africa. I want to say it could be one of the southern African countries, and it began because her child had I believe it was either a disease or something that made them disabled, unfortunately. But because of that, and from there was birthed this charity where now she has adopted, I want to say maybe hundreds of children. She is building literally almost like a mini village where there's a school, there is a like a mini shop, there's like a primary school, there's also a like a mini hospital. And I'm like, out of an unfortunate circumstance, and she's now impacting hundreds of lives simply because of a situation that she was going through. I was all scrolling, I was like, I literally started to cry. I'm like, no, I'm gonna get it together. But it touched me to see the impact and the reach that she has simply because of something that she had to go through herself, and she thought, I'm going to make sure that other children don't face what my child has faced, but also like looking after orphans and all these children who don't have their moms and their dads around and families to take care of them. It's beautiful.
I'll tell you what I like to do actually. I think so. My dad usually says something. He usually says that there's every man that finds that a woman is vulnerable around him, he is responsible for taking care of her. That any situation you find yourself.
I love that. Granddad Bimbi.
And I think...
It's a shame I never got to meet him. He sounds like an incredible man, honestly.
Like he, all grey. I remember that time when I was in school and he turns up, all the girls would be coming out to look at him. His eyebrow is grey, everything.
Okay, not sadly Bimbi.
And the guy would deck up and... Anyway, but I think what I would like to do in the future, hopefully very soon, especially working with, if there are any NGOs out there, is for any woman that is in a vulnerable state to step in, whether from a fundraising point of view for their businesses or something, because there's something about women being in a vulnerable state. I think it's one of the worst states to be in, right? For a man, you still have, I don't know, we're designed to, model the waters. I don't know how to explain it. But I'm not saying women can't, but that's the fact that a woman who is vulnerable it shouldn't be like there should be somebody if last bus stop to turn to.
Absolutely.
Like I would like to set something up as that last bus stop.
Okay, well, this is the seed, and I look forward to seeing it grow, and I'm sure it
Yeah,
will. But
yeah.
before we go, tell me about Travel Genie
Yeah.
that you've created. Tell me, what is that? What is that about?
So, like I said, I love traveling a lot. I go on a lot of group travel. So, without even going into the data, 99% of people that travel are usually family, friends, or colleagues, right? And the biggest pain with group travel is collecting payments from your friends or family.
Yeah, it's always the awkward bit when it's like, okay,
like,
have you guys paid the money to my account for the
yeah.
flights?
Everyone
the
gets excited
accommodation?
when we say, let's go to
Brazil.
Brazil, Marrakesh. Yeah, add me to the group. Now, when it's time to pay the deposit or to meet the final deadline, it's like a graveyard in the WhatsApp group.
It's like,
And then
crickets.
you see them in the next day. You see them next day in your, I don't know, uncle's barbecue, and they're all smiling. They're like, but I've been sending you a WhatsApp message for. So it's basically designed for that. So it's kind of it's a payment collections for group travelers, really. That's what Travel Genie is. So it helps just take away the pain from chasing people for money.
I love
So
that.
you actually don't have to do all that. So we have a tagline that says, collect memories, not payments.
I like that.
Yeah.
Make it easier for us to travel in our groups, and hopefully the trip can make it out of the group chat, because
That's the intention.
there are so many trips that have been born and died in the group chat and
Yeah.
never made it to the
I
actual
never
country.
made it. Yeah, so that's the intention, because we found out that the major reason isn't because people are not interested in the trip, because they joined in the first place. The biggest issue is financial planning. Right?
Yeah,
People
definitely.
aren't sure how much would they be able to afford it, and so on. So that's what Travel Genie actually does. So it kind of shows you your meaning financial plan when you're ready to accept to join the trip.
Okay, so it created a financial plan for you.
you.
So whether it's in a years in advance,
Correct,
2 years in
correct,
advance,
correct.
then you know, okay, I need to be saving £50 a month for the
Correct.
next year,
Exactly.
and we're good to go on the girls' trip.
Exactly.
I
So
love that.
rather than getting just a random WhatsApp join, when you get the link, it actually creates a financial plan personalized for you. And you can adjust it to say, well, actually, I can meet it, or maybe not now.
Okay, that is absolutely genius. I love that. So is it an app that we can download? Is it
So
just a website at the moment?
So it's an app. However, we are still accepting a few people to join.
Okay.
Right. So we get people to wait on the wait list, and then we add them to the batch to join. So if you go to the website, Travel Genie, travel and JINI, and join the wait list, and when it gets to that batch, then we just invite you to use the app.
Perfect. I love it. And then lastly, tell us about the album. Where can we listen? Where can we hear it? Where can we see you?
So for the music, it's all on all streaming platform. The album is called Billings Way, and if you're Nigerian, you understand what Billings Way means. If you are not Nigerian, ask your Nigerian friends what's Billings Way. There are about 12 tracks on it. It's just the intention of the album isn't just to talk about how to spoil your woman. The intention of the album is to celebrate the men that do.
And we love men that spoil their women. We are here for it. We're here for it. But no, I've obviously been listening to the album. I love it. And more than anything, of course, I love the message. I love the message.
I think that's where, as a guy, it's kind of motivation, right? You see, I think men are just designed to take care of their own pride, right?
For sure. Like, that's my girl.
Yeah, so your girl, your kids, your mom, right?
Your
And
sister.
if your sisters, and if you are in a position to great. If you're not in a position to, it's actually a form of motivation, right?
Yeah,
To
for
say
sure.
it would be nice to get to that position. So it shouldn't be actually an issue. And like in one of the songs, I did say that even though we know the economy is bad at the moment, which you're not supposed to suffer. So meaning
Did
that,
you hear that? Even in this cost of living, your babe, your woman, your wifey, your sister too, your mom, she's not supposed to suffer.
yeah.
As a man, step in and do a little something for her,
So
please, and
kudos
thank you.
to all the guys out there that are doing it. That's the
Yes.
intention of the album. The album is to celebrate all the guys that are doing it. The concerts we're having as well is to celebrate the guys as well, and also give them an opportunity to celebrate their women with Afrobeats.
I love that. Billings Way, the album is out now. I love it. The messaging. I just want to say, I really do appreciate you, honestly, speaking up for the women, just outside of the jokes and everything. As we said at the beginning, it takes other men speaking up for women, for other men to really hear the message, to take it in and to receive it,
Yeah.
and to receive it with an open heart.
Yeah, and I think
So
lots of
it's
men
great.
I know men don't speak about it a lot, but there are lots of men doing this. Despite everything, they're still stepping in to do this. We need to give them some kudos.
We celebrate you. Men who are spoiling your wives, spoiling your girlfriend, spoiling your sister, your mama. We appreciate you. We
Yes.
celebrate you. Be blessed where you've spent. I pray that your pocket will continue to quadruple and quadruple and quadruple 10 times more. So make sure you follow Bimbi on social media. Download the album, it's dope, and look out for his tour dates that will be coming out as well. As always, I've been your host, Noma Noms, signing out. There's more to come, more guests, more engaging conversations, more incredible entrepreneurs, creators, trailblazers who are doing absolutely great things in their spaces, in their sectors, in their industries, and just doing things to the top and doing the most. And that's what we're here to celebrate and to make sure that you are also getting to that money, because that's the focus. We're getting to that money. We're making our dreams happen and we're living in purpose, on purpose. I'm your host, Noma Noms, signing out.